A devoted mother caught in a terrible car wreck.
I couldn't believe it at all. It was surreal.
A family torn apart.
I lost my mind. It hit you like a train.
But was it an accident? Or something more sinister?
Was there some type of road rage that we were unaware of? This isn't a traffic accident anymore.
Only these security cameras
Here it is.
can reveal the truth.
Who did this? Is there some sort of sniper or some sort of random shooter out there?
A few days before her divorce becomes official, 41-year-old mom, Michelle Davis, is making a fresh start. She finally has her own apartment and is looking forward to a new life, with a little help from her family.
I don't know if there's two siblings that could be closer than we were without being twins. She was incredibly open. You couldn't help but love her.
Her son, William, is also there, helping Michelle get settled.
She was just always a happy person. I mean, she wanted people to feel the same way. She's definitely one to light up a room, you know, with her smile, her laugh.
Michelle's always been a free spirit.
She was into motorcycles. She was kind of adventurous. She was in a group of motorcycle enthusiasts, and they cared about her. I think it was a good escape from everything she was dealing with at home.
When Michelle's not out on the road, she works as an administrator for a trucking company. She and co-worker Jean Willard have been best friends for 20 years.
She used to be a neighbor just down the street. Her kids and my kids played a lot together.
Hey, I'm just heading out.
Okay, great. See you in the morning.
You too. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
When we left work that night, that was the last time I saw her.
Is the car on fire there? No, there's a lot of people. Somebody's really with us. Okay, we're on our way out there, okay?
A gold Mercury Sable has flipped upside down in what appears to be a tragic accident. Inside, a woman was still strapped into the driver's seat, clearly beyond help.
It was a Thursday, my normal day off. I was relaxing, and I turned my phone on to find that I had a bunch of missed calls.
Hey, Dad. Sorry I missed your call earlier.
And my dad tells me that Michelle had been killed in a car accident. And I lost my mind. I couldn't wrap my head around that.
When I got the phone call, I was in total shock. I couldn't believe it at all. It was surreal. I couldn't picture it actually being true.
The next morning, Detective Mike McTaggart receives an urgent request.
I arrived at work. We had our roll call where we went over our cases that would have come through the day before. I was very surprised when my sergeant told me that they needed me at the medical examiner's office.
Autopsies are routine, but McTaggart's partner, Detective David Siebert, has made a shocking discovery.
The autopsy had concluded Michelle did not succumb from her injuries from a car accident, but it was from a gunshot wound to her head. This isn't a traffic accident anymore.
The death of Michelle Davis is now a homicide.
The theory at the time was we didn't know, and whether it was a random act or an act of aggression against her by somebody else, we didn't quite know.
Something like this happens very rarely. In my career, up until that point, I had never heard of this happening. It sounded like something that we had to try to understand as soon as possible.
While detectives wait on the ballistics report, their first priority is to protect the public. A gunman on the loose could strike again at any time.
Worst case scenario, is there some sort of sniper or some sort of random shooter out there? Tens of thousands of people use that interstate every day, so the pressure to solve the case grows with every minute.
So I need that highway patrolled right away.
For a situation like this, we would do what is called directed patrol, which means we would take neighborhood officers from those districts and increase their presence around the interstate.
While officers get into position, McTaggart returns to the crime scene.
The ultimate hope is to find a shell casing or multiple shell casings, which would help us narrow down who did this or if they did this. Was it on the interstate or was it on an overpass?
But 18 hours since the murder, there's nothing to find.
Literally tens of thousands of cars have driven over the crash site. So any evidence that it's there has been moved or lost entirely.
There is one last glimmer of hope.
We were lucky enough that Interstate 235 was undergoing construction and they had put up surveillance cameras to monitor traffic. So it becomes extremely important to get that footage and get it as soon as possible.
As soon as the footage arrives at the PD, Siebert loads it up.
We hope the footage will show us everything we need to be able to successfully resolve this case.
Let's go to the time of the accident.
He searches for the camera closest to the crash site, just before 4:58 p.m., the time of the first 911 call.
Change camera. Right there.
So we see the vehicle of Michelle Davis, the gold Mercury Sable, flipped over.
Try zooming in.
The bad part about this video is back in 2008, it was not fully digital. But as we try to look at that video, as we try to zoom in, it pixelates.
Now Siebert rewinds the footage to see how the crash happened. Will it reveal who killed Michelle Davis on I-235? The day after Michelle Davis was murdered while driving home from work, police have found traffic camera footage that could reveal what happened. But there's a problem.
So the issue with the I-235 camera footage is it was not a continuous video. because the cameras weren't originally put up for security. Interstate 235 was undergoing construction, and they had put up surveillance cameras to monitor traffic. So it was clips of video, like a 1 second, 2 second clip of video, and then it would wait and take another clip of video.
Siebert only has a few frames of video from this camera. None of them show what happened.
It is frustrating as a detective when you think that you have what you need and it doesn't give you everything that you need to move forward.
All investigators can do is check the remaining cameras for anything suspicious. But with so much traffic, it will take days to analyze the footage.
The task of watching this video is very time-consuming.
And with a killer still out there, the clock is ticking.
You know what? I gotta go. Okay, thank you very much.
Detective Siebert has the footage sent back to the PD for his team to work on. Detective McTaggart has a difficult house visit to make.
It's very upsetting to have to tell a family a second time their loved one died, and it's a homicide investigation instead of an accident.
Michelle died as a result of a gunshot wound.
I mean, it was even more unbelievable. It was murder.
And it hits you like a train. You know, you don't see that blow coming.
I need to know if there's anyone you can think of that would want to harm Michelle.
No. No one.
Her family says that Michelle had been going through a divorce from her husband, Randy, but Michelle, to their knowledge, did not have any enemies. She didn't have any money issues, no drug issues.
Police wouldn't be doing their job if they don't follow up on Michelle's ex-partner, Randy Davis. So McTaggart gives him a call. There's no answer. So he heads to Michelle's workplace, where she was last seen alive.
We'd want to talk to any of her fellow employees to see if they had any information on what could have happened, if they saw anything that day or prior days.
I was in such shock when they came in and told us. I didn't work at all that day. We were just all there.
Was there anything romantic happening at work?
Well, there was this one guy, but they were keeping it really quiet.
What was his name?
Matt Jorgensen.
Michelle liked him quite a bit. They hadn't been dating very long, or together very long. She kind of wanted to keep it a secret.
Anytime that there's some sort of secret issue or secret relationship, it makes you wonder why that is.
Detectives now have two persons of interest: Michelle's ex, Randy Davis, and her co-worker, Matt Jorgensen. By now, the ballistics report is in.
Hello? McTaggart.
I was told that the weapon fired was a .22 caliber rifle. The odds that somebody would be able to make that shot from anywhere, it would be over 1 in a million.
Okay, thank you.
The only possibility is that Michelle was shot at close range, most likely from another vehicle. so McTaggart pays a visit to Michelle's new boyfriend, Matt Jorgensen.
Mr. Jorgensen? Yeah. Would you mind if I come in and speak to you for a few moments?
Yeah, no, sure. Come on in.
He wants to know where Jorgensen was on the day of Michelle's murder.
And how long you stayed up at work? Till about 4:30. Went over to Menards. But they didn't have my vinyl siding. I had to call David, one of my co-workers, and have him come back. My battery was dead.
Your phone battery or your car battery?
My car battery. And the company car. He actually helped me out.
It's a strange coincidence. Jorgensen claims he had car problems at the exact time Michelle was killed.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Jorgensen's alibi confirms his story. Desperate for more information, Siebert decides to retrace Michelle's route home. He finds a camera that faces the road leading to the interstate. Once the footage arrives at the PD, Siebert cues it to the time Michelle left work, 4:30 p.m. Just a few minutes later, he spots something.
There it is.
The video is quite a distance away from the roadway. However, we are able to pick up the gold sable of Michelle Davis.
Siebert checks to see if Matt Jorgensen's company car is following Michelle. But there's no sign of him, only a couple of trucks, ruling Jorgensen out as a suspect.
There's a potential that Michelle Davis is being followed, but that is uncorroborated at this point.
Investigators have run out of leads, until suddenly a call comes in.
It's been an inquiry at Michelle's workplace.
Brother Todd Cosner had called in to inquire about life insurance policy. There's a financial component that sometimes drives people to do harm to others or commit murder. So it's imperative that detectives talk to Todd Cosner, try to understand the reason for the phone call and if there was any involvement by Mr. Cosner.
Siebert heads straight to Todd's house, eager to find out if Michelle's killer has been hiding in plain sight.
I'm going to record this so I don't have to write down everything, okay?
After the murder of Michelle Davis, investigators' suspicion turns closer to home. Her brother, Todd, has inquired about Michelle's life insurance, and detectives need to know why.
Were you at work yesterday?
No.
Okay, you were at home?
I was at church. When he got to the question about where I was at 5 p.m. on September 11th, then I realized I'm a suspect now. I got home, it was before 3. I know it was before 3.
2:30, you think?
Probably somewhere in there. Then at 5 I went and got something for supper.
Where'd you go for supper?
I went and picked up McDonald's. Luckily, I had a receipt from the McDonald's drive-thru with a timestamp on it. So there was no way I could be on 235 and at the McDonald's drive-thru at the same time.
When we speak to Todd, we do not believe that he's involved in this homicide. We find out that the phone call was harmless, that he was in fact inquiring about life insurance policy to pay for the funeral of Michelle.
It was such a strange thing to briefly be a suspect. I was trying to reconcile it in my head. Words don't soothe it. Nothing does.
Anything else that you think is important that I didn't ask you? That's Michelle's other son. They're the one in the blue shirt.
The other son is Randy's child from a previous marriage, Michelle's stepson, Josh Davis.
He's a Marine.
Josh had just returned back from the military and was proficient in the use of weapons. So at that point, it becomes another person of interest that we would like to speak to about this matter, because maybe there was something underlying in the family that we were unsure of, and we needed to look and talk to Josh.
Meanwhile, back at the PD, officers have been scrutinizing the footage of the crime scene, but haven't found any more clues.
So I went back and re-interviewed all the witnesses from the original car crash. And when speaking to them, I was asking, did they notice any other drivers, anything erratic before this incident occurred?
Thanks for calling me back. Like I said, I'm going to record this. What do you observe as you're driving?
We noticed the red Ford truck that was swerving in and out of cars.
Describe that truck to me.
It was a Ford F-150 red, like a bright cherry apple red. We were in the fast lane, and he was in the middle lane, and he passed us, and then got over into the slow lane behind another car. Looked like he almost hit them, and then swerved back over and took off again.
Do you remember if anybody was in that car?
I believe just one male was driving. A white guy wearing a baseball cap.
It's a huge lead, and detectives know they've already seen a red pickup somewhere before. Siebert loads up the car wash footage again. He finds Michelle's car, and following behind her, a cherry red pickup.
When you find further video to corroborate what you believe has happened, there's a little bit of euphoria about that, because now there might be a closer resolution to this case.
Siebert zooms in, but he can't make out any details. So detectives load up the traffic camera footage again.
We went through the highway footage, looking specifically for this red truck also.
They start with the camera by Michelle's on-ramp.
There's Michelle's car.
Sure enough, a red truck comes into view, just 50 feet behind.
That's it.
We are able to see a red pickup truck in the video just prior to the accident.
Zoom in.
For the first time, detectives can see the driver. It looks like he's wearing a cap, but they can't see his face.
Keep going.
Detectives switch to the next camera.
That's it.
The video shows that the red Ford pickup truck was gaining on the gold Sable and was side by side just prior to the accident.
Zoom in.
This is the last moment Michelle Davis is seen alive.
Was this a contact vehicle that forced her off the roadway after shooting her? Was there some type of road rage that we were unaware of?
But detectives have the same problem. The close-up image pixelates, and they can't see the license plate or driver.
However, with the information that we have at that point, we believe that we have the correct vehicle.
Siebert pulls up the DMV records for red Ford F-150 owners in the area. He then cross-references with persons of interest in the case.
There it is.
And gets a match. It's a name they've heard before. Randy Davis, Michelle's ex-husband. Investigators are dispatched straight to his house, where they discover Josh Davis, the Marine, home alone.
Josh, I'm just trying to get some basic information as to, obviously I realize that Michelle and Dad were going through a divorce.
And I told her, I said, you know, this kind of upsets me, you know, because you told me you wasn't going to try to take anything, or, you know, you just wanted to out clean.
What kind of stuff has she requested?
Just going for like half the pension, half the house. Kind of upset me.
Tell me about yesterday.
Me and my sister, we went out shopping. I came home and watched a TV show.
But you don't remember what time you got home?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what time did your dad get home?
He works until 5:30.
I was suspicious of his story and his account of what happened that night. Josh has access to Randy's vehicles and background in being trained in firing weapons does pique our interest.
McTaggart can't make an arrest until he can place someone in the red pickup at the time of the murder. He needs more evidence.
Yeah.
At home, Todd consoles his dad as they both prepare to say their goodbyes at Michelle's funeral.
My dad didn't smile very often after Michelle passed. It robbed him of that happy that she brought him. So that was how he remembered her, was just that life, that free spirit that she was, and her kindness, I think, more than anything.
Eager to ID the driver in the red truck, Siebert heads back out, looking for cameras near Michelle's workplace. At a Quick Trip store, he finds one. Could this footage identify Michelle's killer? "48 hours after Michelle Davis was murdered on her drive home from work, investigators believe either her ex-husband or stepson pulled the trigger. Back at the PD, the footage from the Quick Trip has arrived. This store is only a few blocks from Michelle's workplace. Its camera is indoors, but faces the parking lot. At around 4 p.m., a red truck arrives.
A red truck pulls into the parking lot, and we already know that Randy has a red Ford pickup truck. Josh Davis also had access to it.
We get to see who's driving this thing? Witness says he was wearing a hat.
The driver exits the vehicle, goes inside the store. That person is wearing a baseball cap.
The white male wearing a baseball cap matches witness statements from the crash site.
You can't see his face.
He then walks out of view of the camera.
Let's keep going.
12 seconds later, the man comes back into frame.
He goes up, makes a purchase at the desk. However, due to the graininess of the video, we're unable to determine if that is Josh Davis or, in fact, Randy Davis. We had really hoped that the person in that video would have looked at the surveillance camera, but in this case, it did not happen.
He gets into his truck and leaves at 4:02 p.m. But as detectives keep watching, his vehicle returns. Over the next 30 minutes, the red pickup comes and goes several times. The driver stays in his vehicle. It's very unusual behavior.
So detectives are very curious, and our minds wander of what may be the reason for that vehicle circling back in that lot. Is he waiting for somebody? Is he waiting for Michelle to leave? What is the reason this vehicle keeps coming back in the lot?
The pickup finally leaves for good just after 4:30. The same time Michelle finishes work. With no way of identifying the driver, detectives bring Randy Davis in for an interview.
You understand you're not under arrest, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I want to talk to you is you know her, probably better than most people know her. I'm guessing, right? You're married to her?
17 years.
17 years. Okay. There's some stuff in the past there, but I guess right now I'm kind of concerned with the incident. What do you do at work?
Carpenter.
Okay. And you got home about what time?
Oh, that I don't have.
Did you stop anywhere on the way home?
No.
So what time do you think it was when you got home?
Quarter 4.
Randy's story doesn't match the one Josh told detectives. He already said his dad arrived home at 5:30.
And then once you were home, what'd you do?
Stayed there.
Stayed there. Did you go anywhere else? Did you go anywhere for dinner?
And my son cooked at home.
Okay.
What's come home and then we cooked.
What time did he get home?
Oh. And I'm not for sure. He was over at my daughter's. He come home. I was already home.
What'd you guys have for dinner?
Jambalaya.
Both Josh and Randy's alibis rely on each other, something that raises a red flag for McTaggart.
Alibis can be difficult when the person that is vouching for you is a family member. That person has a reason to lie. You're a loved one of theirs.
But which one is lying? McTaggart now reveals to Randy for the first time that this is a homicide.
Turns out it was more than a car accident. Okay? Turns out that she was actually shot, and that's what caused the car accident. Okay? I can understand it, you're thinking one thing and it turns out to be another thing. Okay. Yesterday, did you have any occasion to speak to Michelle? No? Okay.
I better talk to the lawyer.
When Randy asked for his attorney, that puts an end to the interview.
Detectives have no murder weapon and no witness account, putting Randy or Josh in the red truck. They can't make an arrest. They need more evidence.
So Randy Davis is allowed to leave the station. Obviously, detectives become frustrated. We know that time is of essence to us.
4 days after the murder, Michelle's family and friends come together to remember her.
Losing her, I got cheated, got robbed. It's like having a hole ripped out of me. And you can't fill that.
Randy is also among the mourners.
We hugged and stuff for a while. You know, both cried. Like I said, both said, "I love you." He sat there, said he was sorry, you know, this has happened.
Back at the PD, the case is in danger of going cold until they get an unexpected visitor.
Detective David Siebert and Kurt Bender are speaking with Josh Davis.
Josh Davis, Randy's son, has shown up at the police department with a lawyer, and he wants to change his story.
This is our time for the one break in the case. We want to know exactly what he's got to say.
"8 days after Michelle Davis's murder, with detectives still struggling to solve the crime, the victim's stepson, Josh Davis, comes forward with some new information.
I know this is difficult. There's a time to do all the right things, okay? And it hurts and it's not fun, and I understand that. But there's somebody dead here that didn't deserve to be dead, okay? This isn't a traffic accident anymore. She got killed.
Every person is different. Is there hesitation because of implicating somebody else, implicating themselves, or what is exactly the reason for their hesitancy?
Finally, Josh starts talking.
When I came home from my sister's, my dad's truck was in the driveway. When I came in, he was upstairs, and he come down and he said, "I wish that you didn't come home." And he had his rifle. And I held up against the wall and told him he didn't want to do anything stupid. You know, just told him, you know, you don't want to do nothing that you're going to, you know, you're going to regret. You don't want to do this. And then he got in his truck and left.
How did you know what he was going to do?
They said they're going through their mediation. I mean, he doesn't hunt anymore. And then when he came home, I just went to the garage. And that's when they told me.
Can you tell me what he told you?
That's when he told me he did it.
Once Josh gave his statement, there's a big relief. You needed that extra bit of evidence, and we just didn't have it until Josh's statement.
Josh Davis does not face any charges.
The moral character it took for him to be able to talk about what his father had done to his stepmother was truly brave.
April 2010. Faced with the surveillance footage and his son's testimony, Randy Davis finally confesses to murdering Michelle. Now, detectives can piece together what really happened. Upset by the divorce, Randy delivers the ultimate revenge. He parks his red truck by the Quick Trip store near Michelle's work.
The surveillance video from the Quick Trip close to the business of Michelle Davis was that of Randy Davis waiting for her to leave.
When she leaves, Randy follows. Unaware, he's been captured on surveillance camera. Randy chases Michelle onto the freeway.
The footage on 235 shows that Randy was side by side of Michelle Davis prior to her demise.
Taking careful aim, Randy shoots Michelle in the head. Monday, May the 3rd, 2010. Randy Davis pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 50 years behind bars.
It's definitely affected my life. I've got to, I'm not gonna have a mother, I'm not gonna have her there for my wedding or if I ever have kids.
You don't get over grief. You get used to it. You get used to feeling that, and that's your new normal. So that's, that's the hardest part, I think, more than anything else. That's the hardest part.